The men are just too fast, and they're a little bit too flashy, and the girl's a little too yummy, a little too young.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our channel, Fly Me to the Philippines. We're here in our home overlooking the Cagayan de Oro River Valley.
What a great day. What a beautiful weather. Welcome to the Philippines. Welcome to our home.
And today we're going to talk about dating mistakes
that older men make.
Rob.
Yes.
Had you ever made one?
One, Chrissy. When I was married 27 years and got divorced, I had no idea how to date, let alone date younger women. I made every mistake.
So stick around because we're going to share it with you guys so you will be aware.
They should stick around because I posted a question on a Facebook group, Married to a Filipina. And I said, what are the top 3 mistakes that Western men could make when pursuing a Filipina? And we got a lot of responses, and we're going to talk about them. And Chrissy's going to respond to these top 3 things that the men shared.
Rob.
Yes.
Are you too fast, too flashy, or are you too yummy?
You think a man who jumps in with both feet and flashes his money around and chases a 21-year-old Filipina could end up making a mistake?
Yes, high risk of getting into a big mistake. So here we go. We're gonna explore all these mistakes that a man can make when he is dating a younger woman.
The biggest mistake that men make is they don't have self-worth, and they don't see themselves as the prize. Mm-hmm. And they communicate their lack of confidence, their lack of status immediately upon meeting a woman. Now, women might actually enjoy being in a relationship where they're put on a pedestal and they're number one in the relationship. There's always somebody who has the power in a relationship. Uh-huh. As a Filipina, you're not turned off if you meet a man who's going to put you on a pedestal, are you?
For me, I'm not gonna be turned off. Women are different, and there are a lot of women that will take advantage of you if you will show them the clue that you don't have self-worth or you don't see your value.
And I think there are certain times when if you give away your power, it's not a good strategy, especially with younger women. Uh-huh. Men have a lot to offer, and you have to love yourself. And sometimes when men come out of a divorce or they come out of a long relationship, all they can remember is what the woman told them. They were lousy at this, and they didn't give flowers, and they weren't considerate, and they didn't have enough kind words, and they worked too much and too hard. And sometimes men just have it in their head, we should do everything opposite. But, you really need to give yourself a little bit of space and distance yourself from that past relationship and learn to love yourself. Before anybody else can love you, it's important that men love themselves.
Yes.
And do you think when a man comes online or tries to meet a Filipina that she can sense that he lacks confidence?
Yes, if he will be easily flattered by the words of the Filipina, so you have to be aware that when you go to online dating, all you hear from the woman, all those sweet words, they are also using their power to charm you. Mm. And if you lack confidence and you can be just charmed easily when someone will tell you that, you're a good looking person. I'm like, oh my God, this is the first time I heard from a person that I'm a good looking person, because you yourself, you don't believe that you're a good looking person. Then you will be charmed easily.
So one of the biggest mistakes you make is not realizing how much you have to offer.
Yes.
You have opinions, you have experience, you have the ability to give advice. You've traveled the world, you've run businesses, you've accomplished a lot of difficult things in your life. And for a young Filipina, she's going to see that as very valuable.
Yeah. Yeah. Because for a Filipina to know that you know your self-worth, you know your value, the Filipina will create this big respect towards you. She will look at you like you're a model, you're a role model, you're a leader, and you can be someone that she can be trusted, like in a relationship.
Right. He doesn't see his status. He focuses on his age. Can he lose a Filipina? Might she choose? Maybe she has more than one suitor. All other things being equal, she's going to get turned off by that.
Yeah, the very one thing that could possibly happen first is you will be controlled and manipulated. And because you are controlled and manipulated, the Filipina can just do anything what she want, and she will end up maybe cheating or finding someone else, thinking that you're our easy person.
Right. Not be comfortable with the age gap. And if the Filipina says something about your age, instead of saying, "Oh, I'm old and I'm so lucky to have a girl like you," you should turn it around and go, "You're too young. You don't have enough experience. You haven't experienced enough life. You don't have everything I have. I have so much to offer. Being old is the prize. Turn it around and be confident." So one of the biggest mistakes I think, Chrissy, men can make is if they too much self-deprecating humor, too much focus on their age, brush it off and turn it around. But be confident and know your status. You are the prize. And this goes for in the West, especially here in the Philippines. Now, there's quite a few differences in dating in Asia, which makes it so attractive here. Filipino women, they are not sensitive to the age gap. And it's very easy to just brush that aside.
Yeah. Well, I read a lot of comments that are saying that Filipina young women here in the Philippines are looking for older men because older men are like easy to handle. They are easy. They lack confidence because they are older, so we can easily manipulate them, which is for the Filipina that is really seeking for true love, that is really out of her mind. What she's really looking for is someone that she can trust and someone that can be also teach them something in life that she doesn't know yet. And if you are just a person that lack of confidence and you don't see your worth, you cannot teach the woman, but instead you will be just a follower.
So, Chrissy, let's talk about the 800-pound gorilla in the room, money. One of the biggest mistakes, and what we'll share with you later when we go over the Facebook group, Married to a Filipina, we heard a lot of people say, don't lead with your money. And I'm here to tell you that the average Social Security pension in America is $1,800 US. And that's the sweet spot. That is plenty of money as long as you're not throwing it away and wasting it and trying to buy a woman's affection.
Yeah.
So, Chrissy, you've gotten to know our budget and you're much more familiar with expat budgets and lifestyles. If a man has $1,800 and he says to you he has no savings whatsoever, but he's healthy, and he's worldly, and he's confident, and he understands his status, and he doesn't give away his power. And he just comes right out and tells you, I'm not a rich man. I'm on a pension, a fixed pension. It'll keep up a little bit with inflation. I only have $1,800, the average Social Security pension. Are you going to be turned on, turned off? Are you going to see it as a plus or a minus? Or how would the average Filipina react, do you think?
For me, personally, I would love the honesty. I would love how direct you are in presenting your status to me, because that is very important in a relationship. You will be transparent, you will be true to yourself, and you will be true to your Filipina. So it's a good thing for me. It's a plus.
Do you think that a Western man on $1,800 can provide a satisfying life for him and his Filipina? You think she'll be content?
Oh, contentment will depend on your honesty, because if you will lie about it and you will pretend that you have more, the Filipina will think that you have more money. So if you will buy just enough things for her, she will not be contented because she's expecting you can do better than that, But if you will be honest to her, straight right to her face, that this is just what I get every month, then every little thing you will buy for her, she will be contented because she knew that you only get this amount every month.
The challenge is if you lead with money and the woman's looking for money, she's going to respond positively, and you will always be in a transactional relationship. And if you don't lead with money and you try and establish a relationship based on trust and mutual interest and true chemistry and affection, well, then if money comes into the picture slowly, or you come into a little bit of money, or you share with her that you have a little bit more money, I think you might count on the fact that she will continue to love you for who you are and not your resources.
So it's not really ideal for the man to make the money as the foundation of the relationship, because you cannot really filter the real person through money,
right?
Because real person and not real person, if you're gonna flush them with money, they will both react positively. But if you will flush less money, there you can filter who is the real person.
Yeah. Another big mistake men make is they start out in the friend zone, or they offer mentoring advice. They're just so shy and they don't value themselves and they lack confidence. Now, you personally like when a man offers friendship, like if you were a teacher and another teacher offered friendship. Well, how would you react if he switched the gear, he just flipped the switch, and all of a sudden after a few months of offering friendship and mentorship, he indicated he was interested in you in an amorous way?
Mm-hmm. Well, here in the Philippines, I think it was like part of the culture, because like people were taught that you have to marry your best friend. And for you to know if he can be your friend, is you have to start it through friendship before courting. So, but I heard it's different from the West.
In the West, it's a terrible strategy. And if you're dating in the West, this is a really awful strategy. You got to get to the courtship early on. Don't have her value you as a friend. And when you flip the switch and you start flirting, she's going to worry that, well, relationships don't always work out. She's going to lose a friend or a mentor in the deal. She's more likely to want to keep you as a friend and mentor and not risk it. But online, they know you're there for romance. They know you're looking to meet a girlfriend. But be careful. You don't want to show up without your clothes on, right, Chrissy?
Yeah.
That's a big mistake.
Big mistake.
And Chrissy talked about that before she broke the internet, when she revealed what happens often when a woman here in the Philippines turns on a video chat. So you don't want to be overly aggressive and seem like you're a creepy old man, because when it comes to sex, you just get aggressive. So that's a big mistake.
Yeah. Showing sexual interest at the very first stage of the dating.
Yeah, I think the women are in the trust but verify stage also.
Yes.
And how does it feel, or what's your experience when men are too sexual innuendo, when they keep hinting or teasing about sex early on?
Well, I would find it like you just want to get into my pants, something like that.
Yeah.
So I think for me, I believe that the dating mistake an older man can make in dating is when you are too fast and when you're too slow.
Oh.
Yes.
Too slow is a problem too.
Yes. If you're too fast, like you just met the girl and then you give her directly the interest of dating her and you want to marry her, that's really a mistake.
Yeah.
Because Filipinas, they want it into like from the friendship to romantic, something like that. But if you're too slow,
some other guys can come along.
Yes. So you need to balance it. You have to balance it step by step, but a little bit quick.
So you're looking for a man who has resources, obviously, so he can provide some security.
Right.
And you're looking for a good-looking man, a man who looks like he's healthy, right?
Uh-huh.
What else was going to make a man stand out? If you have two or three men, they're both men of resources, they're both decent looking, what's going to make a man stand out, or what's going to turn you off about a man?
If he's dishonest. So honesty is really like for me, it's like the core of the relationship. I really like that because if you're honest, you don't have to hide anything about yourself.
Right.
If you have your weaknesses, you will present it. If you have your strength, you will also show it to your Filipina, and it's really a good and effective thing to do.
If he's not transparent and you catch him in a lie, you'll never trust him again, will you?
Yeah. It will be very hard to trust the person again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chrissy, one of the things that men do that's a big mistake is they fall into traps. Women love to set traps. Women want to make sure that you're not pretending. Men are really good at pretending and acting like they're interested. They pretend that they're in love with a woman. They have something that they're after.
And the women are good at trapping.
And the women are really good at trapping. And maybe you can explain this to us. And, you know, the example I use, Chrissy, is when you're hiring somebody, you say to them, you ask them a trap question. Tell me about a conflict you had with a former coworker or manager at your old job. And then they sit there and they're like, how stupid is this guy? Let's see if he's going to tell us that he got in a fist fight with a coworker or he hated his boss or some interpersonal conflict he had, when the correct answer is, you know, I never really had a conflict with a coworker or a manager. I'm sort of a get along kind of guy. Next question, right? That's how you answer the question. You deflect, you give them a kernel of an answer, you move on. You recognize that it's a trap. You recognize that it's one of those questions that gets you disqualified. It's a disqualification question. And your job is to deflect and move on and show confidence and recognize your value as an employee to be hired. Why are women setting these traps for men all the time?
Because women want to know what are the negative side of you. You know, they want to know your weaknesses. So for us, Filipina, it is very important because we just don't want to know the best assets that you have, but we also want to know your weaknesses and how are you going to modify that weaknesses, or how can we give a solution to that weaknesses. Like, for example, your weaknesses is you really like to cheat. That is something that a Filipina cannot tolerate. So by that question, by that trap questions, she will know if you're the person that they will really like.
So if you're an older guy, you got to be careful when the subject of sex comes up, because you don't want to come across as creepy and your only interest in a younger woman is to get her in bed and you only see her as in a sexual way. And women will test this by flirting with you, and then if you overreact, if you're uncomfortable with your sexuality and you overreact and you come across a little too creepy, it could be a real turnoff, huh?
I think you should really, like what we did, we waited for 1 year before we decide to get married, and it's not fast, right? 1 year is not.
Well, we work together too, making YouTube, so it's a lot of time together.
Yeah, so don't be too fast. Don't decide too quickly, because there is an advice that do not decide when you are in a precious, happy, sweet moment. Okay, you didn't go through yet to ups and downs in your life. Don't decide yet, because you may tend to decide the wrong decision. You know, you may tend to have a wrong decision. So don't be too fast.
Okay, let's transition. We promised to bring you, I posted on Married to a Filipina the following. What are the top 3 dating mistakes an expat can make when first pursuing a Filipina? And we got a lot of reactions, so let's talk about them.
Okay.
Blair writes, you need to never forget that your Filipina will always send money back to her family, whether she makes 5,000 pesos a month or $5,000 a month. She will never stop caring about her family. Never forget that, she does. Mark says, number 1, don't fall in love with the first Filipina you meet. Number 2, you're not as cute as they say you are. And number 3, don't brag and tell people how much money you have.
Correct. Number 1, about don't fall in love with the first Filipina you met. It's just like if you will become a judge in a competition, the first performer, you will not give it a perfect score, right?
So there's no room.
Yes. So there will be still room for others. And after all these choices, if that one will stand out, then go with it. Yeah, don't fall in love.
Good advice.
Right. Number 2 is,
you're not as cute as she says you are.
I told you that if you're going to go to a dating site, every word that you're going to hear there is like sweet and just so unbelievably good.
Daniel says, not visiting her family, number one, is a huge mistake. Number two, not being crystal clear about your intentions are and what expectations can be going forward. And number three, he says, rushing head first with the first city girl you meet. Province girls are the way to go.
Mm-hmm. About meeting the family, it depends on your intention to the Filipina. If your intention is just to date her and you're not really sure that she's the one, if you're going to visit the family, that is a big mistake because you will just create
She'll lose face.
Expectation towards you. But if your intention is really true and you're sure about the Filipina, it will be a big mistake if you're not gonna meet the family.
Yeah. Ken says, number one, don't start a romantic relationship with someone you've never met in person. And number two, he says, don't start a relationship with a Filipino when you have no knowledge of Filipino culture and life.
Correct.
And he says, number three, take your time, travel around the Philippines, determine where you want to retire, which weather, which cultural aspect, and which regional locale, and then pursue a relationship. You know, I think it's kind of good advice, but I think only 1 or 5% of men actually follow that advice. I said the other day, I don't know anybody who doesn't live near their Filipinas family, that they came to CDO because they wanted to be near the Bukidnon Mountains or something.
Yes, I think the mistake there is if you will buy a property on the place that you're not sure about. Yeah. If you haven't explored the Philippines yet and you buy properties already, then that will be a big mistake.
Yeah, before you're married.
And also before the marriage.
Okay. Martin says, tell them you're relatively poor and you can't send money because you're living day to day. He said he had several Filipinas just stop talking to him when he said that. But he said, eventually, you're going to meet the right woman. He says, eventually, you'll meet one that's not interested in your money. What do you think of that?
Well, I think the way you do it is you have to meet the Filipina online or maybe in person. Build a little friendship towards her. Don't talk about financial. And then when you see that you have a, mental and emotional connection to her, then start revealing about your finances. We will see if she will stay with you or not. Because if it's just a first date and right away you will talk about finances and how poor you are, it's not appealing.
Patrick says talking about money is poison to a relationship. So again, people are like, we're going to hear more, but don't lead with your money is the number one thing we're hearing.
Yes.
Rob, somebody we actually know, Rob writes, it may be comforting to buy large ticket items early in the relationship, cars and houses and expensive vacations, but it would likely cloud her true intentions towards you, and it could be painful when it's revealed later.
I know, yeah. That's what I am telling you, that you cannot filter the real person if you will just flash abundance of money.
Yeah, so you're going to cloud the true person by dazzling the money. You're just going to put off getting to know who that person is.
You cannot detect.
Yeah.
You cannot detect, really.
Rob also says he can understand if a Filipino wants to bring a chaperone, a mother, or a sister, but if she brings a friend or a cousin, quote unquote, that's a red flag. You should be asking questions. If there's another person tagging along.
Yeah, the big mistake if you just trust the person but you don't really verify.
Yeah. He says when you're chatting, the Filipina has to dedicate her time and attention to you. Emergencies come up and there are certain legitimate excuses where she doesn't have time to chat. But a real Filipina that's interested in you will dedicate a significant amount of time to video chat you when you're in a long distance relationship.
We Filipina, if we fall in love with a person, we don't want to make any mistake that can turn him off.
Mario says too fast, too flashy, too young. It's sort of like our title, too fast, too flashy, too yummy. Ray says the sea is full of fish. Take your time. Make sure you honor your deal breaker and nice to have list and find that girl that's perfect for you.
Yeah.
Be patient, be patient, be patient.
Yes.
Don't jump at the first flashy objects that,
The mistake there is if you will go fishing unprepared. You don't have the bait. You don't have the fishing rod.
Yeah. And,
if you're unprepared, it's unplanned. It's a big mistake.
Yeah, and you can only eat the one fish. So you need to throw back the little fish.
Because, like, for example, one person said that do not date a Filipina if you will not study or know about the Philippines first. Right. That's very important because if you will meet a Filipina, you will think that, oh, this is it already. Yeah. Because you don't really know what is
you don't know
the real Filipina.
Well, Ethan says sending money before you meet her, bragging about money, and getting her pregnant before you actually decided she's the one you want to spend your life with.
Oh. That's a mistake. Your life will be ruined, the woman's life and the child's life, you know. So it's really a big mistake. Yeah. So be careful.
Steve says you can take the girl out of the bar, but you can't take the bar out of the girl. So be careful about dating bar girls, I think is his point. Hugh writes, be careful when she says she loves you so fast and furious. It's more often than not she loves your money than you.
I don't believe the person can love you right in the first week of conversation online.
Well, I think you can have an inkling. You can have a flutter in your stomach. Your gut can give you messages that this could be the one. You could feel, special.
Feel special. You could feel a little affection towards the person.
Yeah. Rob writes, do not send money for sick family members. Do not lend money to family members. Do not forget to have a conversation about everything. I agree with him. I think you should.
Yeah, me too. I agree.
Scott writes, number 1, sending money. Number 2, not meeting multiple times in person before committing. And number 3, not understanding her family situation and what she expects from you and what her family expects from you. He says failing on any one of these 3 is going to set you up for failure down the road.
Yeah. I think, if you're dating a Filipina, it's very important for you to ask her what is her expectation when you live together. Yeah. You have to ask her what is the best thing for you and her to do when it comes to family talks.
Harris writes, to avoid disappointment, verify she's a girl. Michael says, make sure you're in love first before considering any other moves. He said, just verify to yourself that you really are in love. Mm-hmm. That's hard to do. It's hard because for man, he can be overcome with passion. And, he just wants to get with that pretty young thing.
Yes.
Yeah, but he needs to know he's in love. You should really be careful and make sure you're in love and not just overcome with passion. Yeah, good advice from Michael.
It's a good advice, but it's a little bit difficult, because it's really difficult to find out if you're in love or not.
Yeah. Marshall says, do not create joint bank accounts and do not buy large, expensive houses. Buy a small property if you are going to buy and only share what you can afford to lose, he says.
Yes, there's nothing wrong of securing your Filipina's future and finances, but don't forget yourself. You have to really step aside things that you only knew. It's okay to be transparent with your Filipina and let her understand that you need funds for yourself also.
Yeah. Wow, Chrissy, everybody had the same thing to say, sort of. I mean, we heard some really interesting stuff.
Mm-hmm. So we're not telling you guys that you have to believe us of what we're saying right here, but for sure it is very helpful.
A lot of expats are saying, don't lead with your money. Recognize that you're the prize. Understand your status. Get to know Filipino culture. Be patient. Don't just hook up with the first city girl or bar girl you meet. Think carefully before you move a woman back to America or the West. And Chrissy, until next time from Fly Me to the Philippines.
See you on our next chat.